Welcome to the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, CBT, for Managing Anxiety and Depression course, designed for individuals looking to improve their mental health using practical and scientifically backed techniques. This course is suitable for anyone experiencing anxiety or depression and wanting to understand how to apply CBT principles to their daily lives. The course is developed and taught by Dr. Joshua Schifrin, a licensed psychologist, a diplomate of the American Board of School Neuropsychology, a nationally certified school psychologist, and an ADHD certified clinical services provider. With over 25 years of experience, Dr. Schifrin has helped countless children, teens, and adults navigate anxiety and depression, equipping them with tools to improve their mental health and quality of life. Who is this course for? Whether you are new to cognitive behavioral therapy or have some familiarity with it, this course is aimed to assist you. It provides practical techniques that anyone can use, regardless of age or background, and is especially helpful for those seeking a natural and structured way to manage anxiety and depression. This course is also designed for individuals who may be unsure of where to start with CBT and want guidance from an experienced professional. You don't need any prior knowledge of mental health or therapy to benefit from this program. By the end of this course, you will have a solid understanding of how to use CBT techniques to manage your mental health effectively. How can this course help you? If you struggle with constant worry, nervousness, or overwhelming feelings of sadness, this course will give you the tools to manage these emotions. Cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the most well-researched and effective therapies for managing anxiety and depression. Through a step-by-step process, you will learn how to identify negative thinking patterns that contribute to anxiety and depression, replace unhelpful thoughts with more balanced and realistic ones, develop practical coping strategies to face your fears and improve your mood, prevent relapses by recognizing warning signs and building resilience. What to expect? This course is primarily practical, focusing on real-life techniques that you can apply immediately. Dr. Schifrin will walk you through each step with clear explanations and examples, making it easy for you to follow along and practice at your own pace. By the end of the course, you'll have a toolkit of CBT strategies that you can use to manage your mental health for the long term. Section 1. What is cognitive behavioral therapy? Introduction to CBT. Cognitive behavioral therapy, commonly known as CBT, is a type of psychotherapy that focuses on the relationship between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Originally developed in the 1960s by Dr. Aaron T. Beck, CBT has become one of the most widely researched and practiced therapies for mental health conditions, particularly anxiety and depression. In this course, we will break down how CBT helps people identify negative thought patterns and behaviors that contribute to emotional distress. By challenging and reframing these thoughts, CBT enables individuals to develop healthier mental habits, leading to improved well-being. Principles of CBT. At the core of CBT is the understanding that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are interconnected. The principle is simple. When we change the way we think, we can change how we feel and behave. CBT is grounded in the idea that many of the emotions and behaviors we experience are influenced by distorted or irrational thinking. For example, if you constantly think, "I will fail," you are more likely to feel anxious or depressed, which may lead to avoiding tasks or withdrawing from activities. CBT helps by teaching you how to identify these thought patterns and replace them with more balanced and rational thoughts, leading to healthier emotions and actions. History and development of CBT. CBT originated in the 1960s when Dr. Aaron Beck, a psychiatrist, was working with patients suffering from depression. He noticed that many of his patients experienced automatic negative thoughts that influenced their emotions and behaviors. Based on this, he developed CBT as a structured, short-term, and goal-oriented therapy that could address these cognitive distortions. Since its development, CBT has been expanded and adapted to treat various mental health issues, including anxiety disorders, substance abuse, eating disorders, and more. It remains one of the most scientifically supported therapeutic approaches, with numerous studies confirming its effectiveness for a wide range of mental health conditions. CBT versus other therapies. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, stands out from other therapeutic approaches due to its structured, short-term, and practical nature. While many therapies focus on exploring past experiences and understanding how these shape present behavior, CBT is focused on solving current problems by addressing thoughts and behaviors in the here and now. First, psychodynamic therapy versus CBT. Psychodynamic therapy, one of the oldest forms of therapy, traces its roots to Sigmund Freud and focuses on exploring the unconscious mind and past experiences, particularly from childhood, to uncover how these influence current behavior. In this approach, therapists and clients delve into unresolved conflicts and deep-seated emotional issues over time. Psychodynamic therapy tends to be long-term and less structured, with an open-ended exploration of the patient's emotions and unconscious motivations. CBT, on the other hand, is goal-oriented and structured. Rather than focusing on past traumas, it deals with present-day issues and teaches practical techniques for identifying and changing negative thought patterns. In CBT, there is less emphasis on the unconscious mind and more focus on how your current thinking influences your emotional state and behaviors. This makes CBT a more immediate and action-oriented therapy, with results often achieved in a relatively short amount of time, typically 5 to 20 sessions. 2. Humanistic therapy versus CBT. Humanistic therapy, popularized by Carl Rogers, emphasizes personal growth and self-actualization. It is rooted in the belief that individuals are inherently good and capable of personal growth. Therapists provide a supportive environment where clients are encouraged to explore their own values, beliefs, and feelings, leading to self-discovery and personal development. Humanistic therapy is often non-directive, meaning the therapist acts as a facilitator rather than providing direct interventions. In contrast, CBT is more directive. The therapist actively works with the client to identify problematic thoughts and behaviors, offering concrete techniques to challenge and replace them. While humanistic therapy emphasizes personal exploration and emotional insight, CBT focuses on providing tools that the client can use to change unhelpful thought patterns and behaviors in everyday life. 3. Behavioral therapy versus CBT. Behavioral therapy is an earlier approach to treating mental health conditions that focuses solely on changing behaviors. It's rooted in the belief that maladaptive behaviors can be learned and, therefore, can be unlearned through conditioning techniques. Behavioral therapy often uses techniques like reinforcement, punishment, or desensitization to change behaviors without necessarily addressing thoughts or feelings. CBT integrates both cognitive and behavioral aspects. It acknowledges that not only behaviors but also thoughts and emotions play a critical role in mental health. By addressing both the mind, through cognitive restructuring, and actions, through behavior modification, CBT offers a more comprehensive approach than strictly behavioral therapy. In summary, CBT is distinct in its short-term, structured, and solution-focused approach, providing practical tools for addressing present-day challenges. Unlike the more exploratory and long-term nature of therapies like psychodynamic or humanistic therapy, the CBT model, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. At the heart of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is the concept that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are interconnected, and changing one of these components can affect the others. This foundational idea is often referred to as the CBT triangle, which illustrates how our thoughts influence our emotions, which in turn influence our actions. 1. The role of thoughts. In CBT, the belief is that thoughts are not merely reflections of reality, but interpretations of the world around us. These interpretations can be distorted or irrational, especially when we are anxious or depressed. For example, someone who constantly thinks, "I am a failure," may start to believe this thought without questioning its validity, leading to feelings of worthlessness and behaviors like withdrawing from activities or social situations. Automatic thoughts are those spontaneous, often negative, thoughts that pop into our heads. They are typically brief and fleeting, but can have a powerful impact on our emotional state. CBT aims to bring these automatic thoughts to the forefront so they can be challenged and restructured into more balanced and realistic perspectives. 2. The role of emotions. Emotions in CBT are viewed as a direct response to our thoughts. If we interpret a situation negatively, we will feel negative emotions. For instance, if you interpret a social interaction as a failure, thought, you might feel anxious or embarrassed. Emotion. Conversely, if you interpret the same interaction as neutral or positive, your emotional response may be far less intense or even positive. The key idea is that emotions are not caused directly by external events, but by how we interpret those events. By changing how we think about situations, we can change how we feel. 3. The role of behaviors. Our behaviors are influenced by both our thoughts and emotions. When we experience negative emotions, it often leads to unhelpful behaviors. For example, someone who feels anxious about public speaking may avoid speaking in public altogether. This behavior, while providing short-term relief, reinforces the anxious thoughts, creating a vicious cycle. CBT emphasizes changing behaviors as well as thoughts. By gradually modifying behaviors, for example, through exposure therapy or behavioral activation, individuals can start to break the cycle of negative thoughts and emotions. For example, someone with social anxiety might begin by practicing speaking in front of 1 or 2 people, before gradually working up to larger groups. Each small success helps challenge the initial negative thought and builds confidence. 4. The CBT cycle in action. Imagine you are asked to give a presentation at work. If your thought is, "I'm terrible at public speaking and everyone will think I'm a failure," you will likely feel anxious or fearful. These emotions may lead you to avoid preparing for the presentation, increasing the likelihood of a poor outcome. This, in turn, reinforces your original negative thought, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. In CBT, you learn to recognize this cycle. You might challenge the initial thought with evidence. "I've given presentations before, and they went well." Changing your thoughts leads to a shift in your emotions, feeling more confident, which then impacts your behavior. You prepare more effectively for the presentation. Over time, this positive cycle replaces the negative one. In CBT, you'll learn how to identify and change your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The real benefit comes when you practice these skills regularly. Over time, the positive changes you make will become second nature, just like the negative thoughts and behaviors you're working to replace. It's about building new habits that support your mental well-being, and with consistent practice, you'll find that these tools can help you manage your anxiety and depression more effectively. Section 2. Understanding anxiety and depression through the lens of CBT. What is anxiety and depression? Anxiety and depression are 2 of the most common mental health conditions, but they affect people in different ways. Anxiety often involves excessive worry or fear about everyday situations. You might feel on edge, struggle to concentrate, or experience physical symptoms like a racing heart or tense muscles. Depression, on the other hand, tends to cause feelings of sadness, hopelessness, or a lack of interest in activities that used to bring you joy. You may feel tired, have trouble sleeping, or even notice changes in your appetite. Both anxiety and depression can be overwhelming, but it's important to remember that these feelings don't define you. In this section, we'll explore how CBT views these conditions and how the strategies you'll learn can help you manage them. How CBT views anxiety and depression. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, approaches anxiety and depression by focusing on how your thoughts influence your emotions and behaviors. In anxiety, CBT teaches that the fear or worry you feel is often based on distorted thinking, overestimating threats, or underestimating your ability to cope with them. Similarly, in depression, CBT shows that negative thought patterns like "I'm worthless" or "things will never get better" can lead to feelings of despair and inactivity. CBT helps you learn to identify these unhelpful thoughts and challenge them. By replacing them with more realistic, balanced thinking, you can reduce the intensity of your anxiety or depression and begin to engage more confidently in your life. Common symptoms and causes. Anxiety and depression affect people differently, but there are many shared symptoms that can interfere with everyday life. Understanding these symptoms and their potential causes is crucial for managing these conditions effectively using CBT. 1. Anxiety symptoms. Psychological symptoms. Anxiety is often characterized by excessive worry, fear, or a sense of dread. You may constantly feel that something bad is going to happen, even when there's no real reason to believe so. People with anxiety often find it hard to control their racing thoughts, which leads to feeling overwhelmed. Physical symptoms. Anxiety doesn't just affect the mind, it often triggers physical symptoms too. You might experience a racing heart, sweating, shaking, or shortness of breath. Some people even report muscle tension, stomach problems, or trouble sleeping. These physical reactions are the body's way of responding to perceived threats, even if those threats are based on irrational fears. 2. Depression symptoms. Psychological symptoms. Depression tends to manifest as a persistent feeling of sadness or emptiness. You may feel disconnected from things you used to enjoy, and it might seem impossible to find pleasure in life. Low self-esteem, hopelessness, and even thoughts of suicide can arise when depression is more severe. Physical symptoms. Just like anxiety, depression can have physical effects. You might feel unusually fatigued or struggle with changes in appetite, eating too much or too little. Sleep disturbances are also common, whether it's trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or oversleeping. Depression can feel like a heavy weight that makes even simple tasks seem impossible. 3. Causes of anxiety and depression. Genetics and brain chemistry. Both anxiety and depression can run in families, suggesting a genetic link. Additionally, imbalances in neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, or norepinephrine in the brain can contribute to these conditions. That's why medications that affect brain chemistry, such as antidepressants, are sometimes used in conjunction with therapy. Life events and stressors. Anxiety and depression can be triggered or worsened by stressful life events, such as the loss of a loved one, divorce, financial troubles, or trauma. Major changes, even positive ones like a new job or moving to a new city, can also cause stress that leads to anxiety or depression. Cognitive patterns. CBT emphasizes the role of distorted or negative thinking patterns as both a cause and a symptom of anxiety and depression. For example, if you constantly worry about the worst-case scenario, it may lead to heightened anxiety, while feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness can drive depression. CBT helps address these symptoms and their underlying causes by teaching you how to break these negative thought patterns and behaviors. The goal is to replace them with healthier, more balanced thinking. The CBT approach to anxiety and depression. CBT offers a structured way of addressing anxiety and depression by focusing on the relationship between your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. In this subtopic, we'll explore how CBT specifically tackles the patterns that sustain both anxiety and depression. 1. CBT for anxiety. Anxiety thrives on distorted thoughts, which often overestimate danger and underestimate your ability to cope. For example, you might think, if I go to this social event, everyone will judge me. This type of thinking leads to fear and avoidance, which only reinforces the anxiety. CBT works by helping you identify these distorted thoughts and challenge their validity. Challenging. Anxious thoughts. CBT teaches you to examine the evidence behind your fears. Ask yourself, is there any real proof that everyone will judge me? Or what's the worst that could happen? By confronting these questions, you'll often find that your fears are exaggerated, and by gradually facing your fears, through techniques like exposure therapy, your anxiety will decrease over time. Breaking the cycle of avoidance. Avoidance is a common behavior in anxiety. While avoiding anxiety-inducing situations might provide short-term relief, it strengthens the belief that the situation is truly dangerous, making the anxiety worse in the long term. CBT helps you face your fears in manageable steps, which builds confidence and reduces the power that anxiety has over your life. 2nd, CBT for depression. Depression is often sustained by negative thought patterns, such as feelings of worthlessness or hopelessness. These thoughts lead to feelings of sadness or despair, which then result in behaviors like withdrawal or inactivity. This creates a downward spiral that deepens depression. Reframing negative thoughts. CBT helps you identify and challenge these negative thoughts. Instead of thinking, "I'm a failure," you might learn to reframe that thought as, "I didn't do well this time, but that doesn't mean I'll fail in the future." Over time, these small shifts in thinking can lead to significant changes in how you feel. Behavioral activation. Depression often leads to inactivity, which further reinforces feelings of worthlessness. CBT uses a technique called behavioral activation, which encourages you to engage in positive, rewarding activities, even if you don't feel like it at first. This could be something as simple as going for a walk, calling a friend, or doing a hobby you used to enjoy. These actions help lift your mood and provide evidence that things can improve. In summary, CBT helps you break the cycles that maintain anxiety and depression by changing how you think about and respond to stressful situations. The techniques you'll learn in this course will give you the tools to take control of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, allowing you to manage your mental health more effectively. Section 3. Identifying negative thought patterns. This section focuses on helping you understand and identify the negative thought patterns, also known as cognitive distortions, that contribute to anxiety and depression. Once you can recognize these patterns, you'll be able to challenge and change them, which is the core of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. Recognizing cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are automatic, irrational ways of thinking that negatively impact your emotions and behavior. In this subtopic, we'll explore some of the most common cognitive distortions that people with anxiety and depression experience and how to recognize them in your own thoughts. 1. Catastrophizing. This distortion leads you to imagine the worst-case scenario, even when there's no real evidence to support it. For example, you might think, "If I make a mistake at work, I'll get fired and never find another job." This type of thinking fuels anxiety by blowing situations out of proportion. How to recognize it? Ask yourself if you're predicting disaster before it even happens. Are you jumping to the conclusion that the worst possible outcome is inevitable? 2. All or nothing thinking, black and white thinking. This involves seeing things in extremes. Either everything is perfect or it's a complete failure. For example, if you get a lower grade than expected on an exam, you might think, "I'm a complete failure," rather than recognizing the effort you put in. How to recognize it? Pay attention to words like always or never in your thoughts. If you're using extreme language, it's likely you're engaging in all or nothing thinking. 3. Overgeneralization. Overgeneralization happens when you take one negative event and apply it broadly. For example, if you don't get a call back after a job interview, you might think, "I'll never get hired anywhere." How to recognize it? Notice when you're making sweeping statements based on one experience. Are you assuming that one failure means every future attempt will also fail? 4. Mental filtering. This occurs when you focus only on the negative aspects of a situation while ignoring any positives. For example, you might dwell on a critical comment you received, even if you were also given several compliments. How to recognize it? Ask yourself if you're dismissing any positive feedback or outcomes. Are you focusing solely on what went wrong? 5. Personalization. Personalization involves blaming yourself for things that are out of your control. For instance, if a friend is in a bad mood, you might think, "It's my fault. I must have said something wrong." How to recognize it? Question. Whether you're taking responsibility for something that may have nothing to do with you. Are you assuming you're the cause of other people's emotions or actions? Why recognizing cognitive distortions is important. Recognizing these distortions is the first step in overcoming them. Once you can identify the specific patterns in your thinking, you'll be able to challenge them and begin reframing your thoughts in a more balanced way. Using a thought log. A thought log is a practical tool that helps you track and evaluate your negative thoughts. It's a simple but powerful exercise in CBT that can help you become more aware of your cognitive distortions and start to change them. 1. How to use a thought log. A thought log helps you break down your thoughts and see how they're impacting your emotions and behaviors. Here's what a typical entry might look like. Situation. Describe what was happening when you had the negative thought. For example, I had a presentation at work. Thought. Write down the negative thoughts you had. For example, I'm going to mess up and everyone will think I'm incompetent. Emotion. How did the thought make you feel? For example, I felt anxious and scared. Cognitive distortion. Identify which cognitive distortion you were engaging in. For example, catastrophizing. Evidence for against the thought. List evidence that supports and contradicts the thought. For example, for I've stumbled in presentations before. Against, I've practiced and received positive feedback on my work. Alternative thought. Replace the negative thought with a more balanced one. For example, I've prepared well, and even if I make a small mistake, it won't be the end of the world. 2. Benefits of using a thought log. Increased awareness. Writing down your thoughts forces you to slow down and really examine what's going through your mind. You may find that many of your negative thoughts are automatic and don't hold up under scrutiny. Objectivity. A thought log allows you to step back and evaluate your thoughts more objectively. By breaking them down into steps, you can see patterns that aren't immediately obvious when you're caught up in the moment. Challenge your assumptions. This exercise encourages you to question your automatic assumptions. For example, if you tend to catastrophize, the thought log helps you find evidence that contradicts the worst-case scenario you're imagining. Third practical example of a thought log. Entry. Situation. I had to cancel plans with a friend. Thought. They're going to be mad at me and we'll stop being friends. Emotion. Guilt. Anxiety. Cognitive distortion. Catastrophizing. Evidence for against. 4. I've canceled plans before and they seemed annoyed. Against. We've been friends for years, and they've never stopped talking to me because of a canceled plan. Alternative thought. My friend might be disappointed, but we can reschedule, and our friendship won't end because of this. By regularly using a thought log, you'll get better at catching and challenging your negative thoughts before they lead to negative emotions and behaviors. How to begin identifying negative thoughts in daily life. Now that you understand cognitive distortions and how to use a thought log, let's look at how you can start applying these tools in your everyday life. Recognizing negative thoughts in the moment can be challenging, but with practice, it will become second nature. 1. Pay attention to your emotional triggers. Negative thoughts are often triggered by certain situations or emotions. For example, you might notice that you have more negative thoughts when you're feeling stressed, tired, or overwhelmed. Start by identifying these emotional triggers. What situations make you feel anxious or depressed? 2. Notice your physical reactions. Your body often responds to negative thoughts before you consciously recognize them. Do you feel tense, restless, or have a racing heart? These physical signs can be clues that you're engaging in negative thinking. When you notice these reactions, take a moment to ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? 3. Ask yourself. Key questions. When you catch yourself feeling anxious or upset, ask yourself these questions to identify negative thoughts. What's going through my mind right now? Is this thought based on facts, or is it an assumption? Am I engaging in any cognitive distortions? What's a more balanced way of thinking about this? 4. Practice. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for recognizing negative thoughts. By staying present in the moment and observing your thoughts without judgment, you can catch cognitive distortions as they happen. When you're mindful, you're more aware of your mental state, which helps you notice negative thinking patterns more quickly. 5. Check in. Regularly. Set aside a few moments each day to check in with your thoughts. You might do this during a quiet moment in the morning or before bed. Ask yourself, what thoughts have been on my mind today? This daily check-in helps reinforce the habit of monitoring your thoughts, making it easier to catch negative patterns in the future. By incorporating these techniques into your daily life, you'll gradually become more adept at recognizing and challenging negative thought patterns, which will lead to more balanced emotions and behaviors over time. Section 4. Reframing negative thoughts and beliefs. In this section, we'll focus on the practical methods you can use to challenge and reframe the negative thoughts that contribute to anxiety and depression. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, teaches us that our thoughts heavily influence our emotions and behaviors. So by learning how to question and replace unhelpful thoughts, we can change how we feel and act. Challenging unhelpful thoughts. Our negative thoughts are often automatic and unchallenged, which means they can go unchecked for a long time. In this section, we'll cover practical methods to help you challenge these unhelpful thoughts so you can start changing the way you think. 1. Questioning the evidence. The first step in challenging a negative thought is to ask, what's the evidence for and against this thought? Much like a lawyer building a case, you need to collect the facts. For example, if you're thinking, I'm going to fail this test, ask yourself, what evidence do I have that supports this? Perhaps you've failed a test before, but also ask, what evidence do I have against this thought? Maybe you've studied hard or passed similar tests before. This method encourages you to be objective and balance your view. Practical exercise. The next time you catch yourself thinking negatively, take a few minutes to write down the evidence for and against your thought. This simple act can reveal that your thoughts might not be as factual as you first believed. 2. Exploring alternative explanations. Once you've questioned the evidence for your negative thought, it's time to consider other possible explanations. For example, if a friend doesn't respond to your text, instead of jumping to the conclusion, they're mad at me, ask yourself, is there another explanation? Perhaps they're busy or forgot to reply. This step helps you develop more balanced thinking by showing that your initial assumption may not be the only possibility. Practical exercise. For each negative thought, brainstorm at least 3 alternative explanations. You'll often find that the worst-case scenario you initially imagined isn't the most likely outcome. 3. What's the worst that could happen? One method CBT often uses is to ask, what's the worst that could happen? This may sound counterintuitive, but it can help you put your fears into perspective. Often when we catastrophize, we imagine the worst possible scenario, but by fully exploring it, we realize that even if it did happen, we could handle it. Practical exercise. The next time you're worried about something, follow this line of questioning. What's the worst that could happen? How likely is it? And if it did happen, how could I cope with it? By the end of this exercise, your fear may feel less overwhelming. 4. Putting thoughts on trial. Sometimes it's helpful to treat your thoughts like a courtroom case. Imagine your thought is on trial, and you are the lawyer arguing against it. For example, if you're thinking, I'll never be good enough at my job, imagine presenting all the reasons that thought is not true, such as past successes, positive feedback from colleagues, or the skills you've developed over time. Practical exercise. Write down your negative thoughts and list the reasons why they may not be entirely accurate. By doing this regularly, you'll get into the habit of challenging your thoughts more naturally, reframing and replacing negative thoughts. Once you've challenged your negative thoughts, the next step is to reframe and replace them with more balanced, realistic ones. The goal isn't to replace them with overly positive or unrealistic thoughts, but with thoughts that are based on evidence and are more constructive. 1. What is reframing? Reframing is the process of looking at a situation from a different, more balanced perspective. Instead of jumping to the conclusion that a situation is entirely bad, reframing allows you to see it in a more neutral or even positive light. For example, if you think, I messed up this presentation and now everyone thinks I'm incompetent, you could reframe it to, the presentation didn't go as well as I'd hoped, but I can improve next time. Practical exercise. When you catch yourself thinking negatively, ask yourself, how else could I view this situation? Write down a more balanced or neutral version of your thought. Over time, this practice will help you naturally reframe your thoughts in a healthier way. 2. Replacing cognitive distortions with realistic thoughts. Each time you identify a cognitive distortion, the goal is to replace it with a more accurate, balanced thought. For example, if you're engaging in all or nothing thinking, for example, I'm either perfect or a failure, replace it with, I did my best, and that's good enough. Nobody is perfect. Practical exercise. Keep a list of common cognitive distortions and their realistic alternatives. When you notice yourself falling into a distorted pattern, consult your list and swap the distortion for a more balanced thought. 3. Shifting focus from problems to solutions. Often, our negative thoughts are problem-focused. We dwell on the issue rather than thinking about what we can do to improve the situation. Reframing encourages us to move from problem-based thinking to solution-based thinking. Instead of thinking, I'm always late, try thinking, what steps can I take to improve my punctuality? Practical exercise. Each time you catch yourself focusing on a problem, write down 1 or 2 possible solutions. This helps shift your mindset from feeling helpless to feeling empowered. Creating new beliefs. As you challenge and reframe your negative thoughts, you'll begin to develop new, healthier beliefs about yourself and the world around you. This part of CBT focuses on building beliefs that support your mental well-being. 1. Building core beliefs. Core beliefs are deeply held beliefs that shape how we see ourselves, others, and the world. Negative core beliefs, such as I'm not good enough or the world is a dangerous place, can fuel anxiety and depression. The goal of CBT is to replace these negative core beliefs with more supportive, realistic ones. Practical exercise. Start by identifying one of your negative core beliefs. For example, I'm a failure. Then, challenge it by writing down evidence against it, such as past successes. Finally, create a new core belief such as, I may not succeed every time, but I'm capable of learning and improving. 2. Reinforcing new beliefs. With evidence. Just as negative thoughts are often reinforced by selective evidence, positive beliefs need reinforcement too. Each time you achieve something, no matter how small, it's evidence that supports your new, healthier belief. Practical exercise. Keep a journal of small wins and successes that reinforce your new beliefs. For example, if your new belief is, I'm capable of handling challenges, write down each challenge you successfully navigate, no matter how minor. This helps strengthen the belief over time. 3. Creating affirmations for your new beliefs. Affirmations are positive statements that reflect your new beliefs. By repeating affirmations regularly, you help solidify these beliefs in your mind. For example, if your new belief is, I am worthy of respect, you might use the affirmation, I deserve to be treated with respect. Practical exercise. Write down 3 affirmations that reflect your new core beliefs. Repeat them daily, especially in moments of doubt. Over time, these affirmations will help your new beliefs become second nature. By learning to challenge, reframe, and replace your negative thoughts, you're taking powerful steps toward improving your mental health. In this section, you've gained practical tools for changing how you think, which will help change how you feel and behave over time. Section 5. Managing stress and anxiety in real time. This section introduces practical techniques to manage stress and anxiety as they occur. These methods provide immediate relief and help you build coping strategies for anxiety-inducing situations. We will focus on relaxation techniques, mindfulness, and exposure therapy to help you confront anxiety in real time and reduce its impact over time. Immediate techniques for managing anxiety. Introduction to relaxation methods like deep breathing, mindfulness, and progressive muscle relaxation. When anxiety strikes, it can feel overwhelming, but the good news is that there are immediate techniques you can use to calm your mind and body. In this part of the course, we'll introduce 3 key relaxation methods that you can practice anywhere: deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, and mindfulness. These techniques will help you regain control over your physical and mental state when anxiety feels unmanageable. Breathing and relaxation techniques. One of the most effective ways to manage anxiety in the moment is by practicing deep breathing and other relaxation techniques. These methods work by activating the body's parasympathetic nervous system, which helps calm the body's fight or flight response to stress. 1. Deep breathing. Why it works. When we're anxious, our breathing tends to become shallow and rapid. This sends a signal to the brain that we're in danger, which increases feelings of anxiety. Deep breathing works by slowing down your breath, which helps regulate your nervous system and sends calming signals to your brain. How to do it? One simple technique is called box breathing. Follow these steps. Inhale deeply through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 4. Exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 4. Pause for a count of 4, then repeat. Practicing deep breathing for just a few minutes can significantly reduce feelings of anxiety. 2. Progressive muscle relaxation. PMR. Why it works. Progressive muscle relaxation is a technique that helps you release tension from your body by tensing and then relaxing each muscle group. Many people carry physical tension, especially during times of stress, and PMR helps bring awareness to those areas while actively encouraging relaxation. How to do it? Start with your feet. Tense the muscles for 5 to 10 seconds, then release and feel the relaxation. Move up to your calves, thighs, stomach, chest, arms, and finally, your neck and face. Focus on the difference between tension and relaxation. This technique not only relaxes your body but also helps you focus on something other than your anxious thoughts. 3. Visualization. Why it works. Visualization combines deep breathing with mental imagery. By picturing a calm, peaceful place, like a beach or a forest, you can shift your focus away from anxiety and give your brain a chance to reset. How to do it? While practicing deep breathing, imagine a place where you feel safe and relaxed. Engage all your senses. Imagine the sounds, smells, and sensations. This practice helps calm the mind by mentally transporting you to a peaceful environment. Mindfulness practices. Mindfulness is the practice of staying present and aware of your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations without judgment. It's an excellent tool for managing anxiety because it encourages you to focus on the present moment instead of worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. 1. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness involves observing your thoughts and feelings as they arise without trying to change or judge them. This helps you recognize anxious thoughts without getting caught up in them. Instead of reacting to your anxiety, mindfulness teaches you to accept it, which can lessen its intensity. 2. Mindful breathing. How it helps. Mindful breathing is a simple but effective mindfulness practice. By focusing on your breath, you anchor yourself to the present moment, preventing your mind from spiraling into anxious thoughts. How to do it? Sit or lie down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. Feel the air entering your lungs and notice how your body expands and contracts with each breath. If your mind wanders, gently bring your focus back to your breath. Practicing mindful breathing for even 5 minutes can reduce anxiety and help you feel more grounded. 3. Body scan. Meditation. Why it works. A body scan meditation is a mindfulness practice that helps you become aware of physical sensations in your body. By focusing on how each part of your body feels, you can shift attention away from anxious thoughts and ground yourself in the present. How to do it? Start by focusing on your feet, noticing any tension, warmth, or sensation. Slowly work your way up your body, focusing on each area for a few seconds. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to the sensations in your body. Body scan meditation helps you connect with your body and relax, reducing anxiety by bringing awareness to the present. 4. Mindfulness in everyday life. Mindfulness doesn't have to be practiced in formal meditation. You can incorporate it into daily activities like walking, eating, or even washing the dishes. By paying attention to what you're doing in the present moment, whether it's the taste of your food or the feel of water on your hands, you're practicing mindfulness, which helps keep anxiety at bay. Introduction to exposure therapy. Exposure therapy is a CBT technique that involves gradually facing your fears in a controlled way, allowing you to reduce the anxiety associated with them. It's based on the idea that avoiding situations you're afraid of only strengthens your anxiety over time. 1. What is exposure therapy? Exposure therapy involves gradually exposing yourself to the source of your anxiety in small, manageable steps. This process helps you realize that the feared situation is not as dangerous as your mind has made it out to be. Over time, the more you confront your fears, the less anxiety they will provoke. 2. Creating a fear hierarchy. How to start. To begin exposure therapy, it's helpful to create a fear hierarchy, a list of situations that trigger anxiety, ranked from least to most anxiety-provoking. For example, if you have social anxiety, your hierarchy might look like this. 1. Making eye contact with a stranger. 2. Saying hello to a coworker. 3. Making small talk at a social event. 4. Giving a presentation at work. How it helps. By starting with the least anxiety-provoking situation and working your way up, you gradually build confidence and reduce anxiety with each step. As you expose yourself to each level of your hierarchy, your brain learns that the situation is not as dangerous as it once seemed. Third, gradual exposure. How to do it. Start with the least feared situation on your hierarchy. Stay in the situation until your anxiety begins to decrease. Gradually move up to more challenging situations as you feel comfortable. Why it works. Exposure therapy works because it gives your brain a chance to relearn that the feared situation is safe. As you repeatedly face your fears, your anxiety will naturally decrease and your confidence will grow. 4. Real-life application. Let's say you're afraid of flying. A fear hierarchy might start with looking at pictures of airplanes, then watching videos of flights, and eventually going to the airport. Each step gets you closer to the final goal, flying on a plane, without overwhelming you at once. Over time, exposure therapy reduces the fear response by helping you build tolerance and resilience to anxiety-inducing situations. This section provides a toolkit of strategies you can use to manage anxiety as it happens, as well as long-term methods like exposure therapy to reduce fear over time. By practicing these techniques regularly, you'll gain more control over your anxiety and stress, helping you feel calmer and more confident in challenging situations. Section 6. Using CBT techniques for depression. Depression often traps individuals in a cycle of negative thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, offers practical strategies to help break this cycle by addressing distorted thinking and encouraging positive behaviors that can gradually lift mood and improve mental well-being. This section will introduce the core CBT techniques used to manage depression, focusing on breaking negative thought patterns and using behavioral activation to promote positive changes in your life. Breaking the negative thought cycle in depression. How CBT helps break the cycle of negative thinking that often accompanies depression. Depression can create a self-perpetuating cycle of negative thinking, where feelings of hopelessness, worthlessness, or guilt feed into each other. The more you think negatively, the worse you feel, and the less you engage with life. CBT is designed to break this cycle by helping you identify and challenge the negative thoughts that fuel depression. Recognizing patterns of depressive thinking. 1. Understanding depressive thinking. Depression often leads to what's called negative automatic thoughts, spontaneous, unhelpful thoughts that arise without conscious effort. These thoughts are typically biased and distort reality in a way that makes you feel worse. For example, you might think, "I'm a failure," or "nothing will ever get better," without evaluating whether these thoughts are actually true. 2. Common patterns of depressive thinking. Some of the cognitive distortions most commonly associated with depression include personalization, blaming yourself for things that are beyond your control. For example, "My friend is upset because I'm not a good enough person." All or nothing thinking, viewing situations in extremes, such as, "If I'm not perfect, I'm a complete failure." Overgeneralization, drawing broad negative conclusions based on a single event like, "I failed this test, so I'll never succeed in anything." 3. How to recognize depressive thoughts. Begin by paying attention to how you're feeling. Depression is often accompanied by feelings of sadness, hopelessness, or fatigue. When you notice these emotions, stop and ask yourself, What was I just thinking? Depressive thoughts tend to be automatic, so you may not realize you're having them until you start to actively look for them. Practical exercise. Keep a journal for 1 week and note down any negative thoughts that arise when you're feeling down. Once you've identified these thoughts, examine whether they follow any of the patterns mentioned above. Recognizing these patterns is the first step in breaking the cycle of negative thinking. Introduction to behavioral activation. Behavioral activation is one of the most effective techniques in CBT for treating depression. Depression often causes you to withdraw from activities and isolate yourself, which further deepens feelings of sadness and hopelessness. Behavioral activation helps you reverse this pattern by encouraging you to engage in positive, rewarding activities, even when you don't feel like it. 1. How behavioral activation works. Depression can lead to a downward spiral where the less you do, the worse you feel, and the worse you feel, the less you do. Behavioral activation breaks this cycle by prompting you to re-engage with life, even when it feels difficult. Research shows that doing things that give you a sense of achievement or pleasure can improve your mood over time. 2. Choosing positive activities. The key is to start with small, manageable activities that you can build on. These activities don't need to be monumental. They can be as simple as going for a short walk, spending time with a friend, or cooking a meal. The goal is to focus on both pleasurable activities, things you enjoy, and achievement-based activities, things that give you a sense of accomplishment. 3. The importance of consistency. The effects of behavioral activation compound over time. The more you engage in positive activities, the better you'll feel, and the more energy you'll have to continue those activities. Over time, this process helps to break the cycle of inactivity and negativity that fuels depression. Practical exercise. Make a list of activities that bring you pleasure or a sense of achievement. Schedule one small activity each day for the next week, even if you don't feel motivated to do it. Track your mood before and after the activity. As you gain momentum, gradually increase the complexity of the activities, setting small, achievable goals. When you're depressed, even simple tasks can feel overwhelming. One of the most powerful tools in CBT is setting small, achievable goals to help you break tasks down into manageable steps. This allows you to build confidence and regain a sense of control over your life. 1. Why setting small goals is effective. Depression often leads to feelings of helplessness, where everything seems too difficult or pointless. By setting small goals, you create a sense of purpose and progress. These small successes can provide the momentum needed to tackle bigger challenges. 2. How to set SMART goals. In CBT, we often use the SMART framework for setting goals. Specific. Make your goal clear and detailed. Instead of exercise more, try take a 10-minute walk every morning. Measurable. Make sure you can track your progress. How will you know when you've achieved your goal? Achievable. Set goals that are challenging but realistic. Don't set yourself up for failure by aiming too high. Relevant. Choose goals that are meaningful to you. Why is this goal important to your well-being? Time-bound. Give yourself a deadline. When will you achieve this goal? 3. Building momentum. With small wins, start with very small, manageable tasks, especially when you're feeling low. For example, instead of setting a goal to clean your entire house, set a goal to clean one room or even one part of a room. These small wins help build momentum and create a sense of accomplishment, which can counteract feelings of hopelessness. Practical exercise. Write down 3 small, achievable goals for the next week. These can be as simple as call a friend, read for 10 minutes, or cook a healthy meal. At the end of the week, review your progress and celebrate any successes, no matter how small they seem. By using CBT techniques to recognize and challenge negative thoughts, engaging in positive activities through behavioral activation, and setting achievable goals, you'll begin to break free from the cycle of depression. Each of these tools builds on the other, helping you take small, meaningful steps toward improving your mood and overall well-being. Section 7. Practical application of CBT in everyday life. This section focuses on how to apply cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, to real-life challenges, including managing stress in social situations, at work, and when solving everyday problems. By using CBT techniques in practical situations, you'll be able to navigate life's challenges more effectively, reduce anxiety, and improve overall well-being. Applying CBT to daily challenges. CBT techniques in real-life situations like work, relationships, and social settings. CBT isn't just a set of theoretical techniques used in therapy sessions. It's a practical approach that can be applied to everyday life. Whether you're dealing with social anxiety, stress at work, or navigating relationships, CBT helps you identify unhelpful thinking patterns and develop healthier responses. In this section, we'll provide examples of how you can use CBT to handle common life challenges. Using CBT in social situations. Social situations can often trigger anxiety, especially if you have a fear of being judged or rejected. CBT offers several techniques to help manage this anxiety and feel more comfortable in social settings. 1. Identifying social anxiety thoughts. Many people experience negative thoughts in social settings, such as, everyone will think I'm awkward, or I'm going to embarrass myself. These thoughts trigger anxiety and can make it difficult to engage with others. Using CBT, you can learn to identify and challenge these negative thoughts before they spiral out of control. Example: imagine you're at a party and you start thinking, I don't belong here. Everyone else is more confident than I am. Instead of accepting this thought, ask yourself, is this really true? Do I have any evidence to support this? You might realize that nobody is actually judging you, and that others may feel just as nervous. 2. Reframing negative thoughts in social settings. Once you've identified the negative thought, you can replace it with a more balanced one. For example, instead of thinking, I'm terrible at small talk, you could reframe the thought to, I'm here to practice small talk, and I don't have to be perfect. Exercise. The next time you're in a social setting, challenge yourself to reframe at least one negative thought. Notice how this change in perspective impacts your anxiety and behavior. 3. Using exposure therapy. In social situations. Exposure therapy can also be helpful in social situations. Start by gradually facing social situations that cause you anxiety. For example, if speaking in front of a group makes you nervous, start by practicing with a small group of friends and gradually work up to larger settings. CBT for work-related stress. Work can be a significant source of stress, especially if you're dealing with deadlines, difficult coworkers, or a heavy workload. CBT helps you manage work-related stress by changing how you perceive and react to stressful situations. 1. Identifying stress triggers at work. The first step in managing work stress with CBT is identifying the specific thoughts and beliefs that trigger your stress. You might think, I'll never finish this project on time, or my boss is never happy with my work. These thoughts can lead to feelings of overwhelm and anxiety, making it harder to stay focused and productive. Example: if you're feeling stressed about an upcoming deadline, write down the thoughts going through your mind. Are you catastrophizing, assuming the worst-case scenario? Recognizing these patterns helps you gain clarity on what's truly causing your stress. 2. Challenging negative work-related thoughts. Once you've identified the negative thoughts, challenge them. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have that this thought is true? Or, is there another way to look at this situation? This helps you shift from a problem-focused mindset to one that is more solution-oriented. Example: instead of thinking, I'll never finish this project, challenge that thought by saying, I've completed challenging projects before, and I can break this one down into smaller steps. 3. Reframing work challenges. Reframing is another powerful CBT technique for managing stress at work. If you're faced with a difficult task, instead of viewing it as a burden, try to reframe it as an opportunity for growth or a chance to develop new skills. Practical exercise. Choose one stressor at work and write down how you typically think about it. Then, reframe that thought in a more positive or neutral way. For example, This project is an opportunity to demonstrate my skills. Problem solving. Using CBT techniques. CBT provides a structured approach to problem solving that can be applied to a wide range of challenges, from daily annoyances to major life decisions. By breaking problems down into manageable parts and addressing them step by step, you can reduce anxiety and make more confident decisions. First, problem-solving steps. In CBT, Step 1. Identify the problem. Clearly define the issue you're facing. For example, I'm struggling to balance my workload with my personal life. Step 2. Brainstorm solutions. List all possible solutions, even those that seem unlikely. For example, I could delegate tasks, prioritize certain projects, or adjust my schedule. Step 3. Evaluate the options. Consider the pros and cons of each solution. Ask yourself, what are the possible outcomes of each option? Step 4. Choose a solution. Select the solution that seems most realistic and practical. Step 5. Implement the plan. Take action by putting your chosen solution into practice. Step 6. Review the outcome. After you've implemented your solution, assess whether it worked. If not, consider trying another option from your list. Second practical example of CBT problem solving. Let's say you're feeling overwhelmed by a busy schedule. Using the CBT problem-solving approach, you first identify the problem. I have too many commitments, and it's causing me stress. You then brainstorm solutions, such as delegating tasks, saying no to new requests, or blocking out time for self-care. After evaluating the options, you choose to delegate some tasks and create a more realistic schedule. Finally, you review whether this approach has reduced your stress levels and adjust if needed. 3. Setting realistic goals to solve problems. In problem solving, it's important to set goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART. By setting clear, realistic goals, you can make progress step by step and avoid feeling overwhelmed. Practical exercise. Identify one problem in your life and work through the steps outlined above. Set a SMART goal to address the issue, and review your progress after a week. By applying CBT techniques to social situations, work-related stress, and problem solving, you'll be better equipped to manage the challenges that arise in everyday life. This section gives you practical tools that can be used immediately to reduce anxiety and stress, and to improve your mental well-being in real-world situations. Section 8. Long-term strategies for maintaining mental health. This section focuses on how to maintain the progress you've made using cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and how to prevent a relapse into negative thinking patterns over time. We'll also explore the importance of building a support system to help you stay on track and continue improving your mental well-being. Preventing relapse and staying on track. How to prevent a relapse into negative thinking patterns and maintain progress over time. While CBT provides powerful tools for managing anxiety and depression, maintaining mental health in the long term requires consistent effort. Preventing a relapse into negative thinking patterns involves recognizing warning signs early, using the techniques you've learned, and making adjustments when necessary. In this section, we'll explore practical strategies to stay on track and keep building on the progress you've made. Recognizing and addressing. Warning signs of relapse. One of the most important aspects of maintaining mental health is being able to recognize the early signs of a potential relapse into anxiety or depression. By identifying these warning signs early, you can take proactive steps to address them before they escalate. 1. What are the warning signs of relapse? Return of negative thoughts. A common sign of relapse is the return of negative thought patterns, such as catastrophic thinking, overgeneralization, or black and white thinking. If you start noticing that these kinds of thoughts are becoming more frequent, it may be a sign that your mental health is slipping. Withdrawal from activities. Depression often causes people to withdraw from activities they once enjoyed. If you find yourself starting to lose interest in things you usually enjoy, or if you're avoiding social situations, this could be a warning sign. Changes in mood or energy levels. Notice if you're feeling more irritable, anxious, or fatigued than usual. A sudden change in mood or a drop in energy could be an early indicator of relapse. 2. How to address. Warning signs. Review your CBT tools. Go back to the techniques you've learned in CBT, such as identifying and challenging negative thoughts or using relaxation techniques. These tools are designed to help you regain control before the situation worsens. Track your mood and thoughts. Keeping a journal or using a mood tracking app can help you recognize patterns in your mood or thoughts over time. By monitoring your mental state, you can catch any negative changes early and take action before they escalate. Third, practical exercise. Spend a few minutes reflecting on the last time you felt anxious or depressed. Write down what triggered those feelings, how your thoughts changed, and what behaviors followed. Recognizing your personal patterns is key to preventing future relapses. Creating a relapse prevention plan. A relapse prevention plan is a structured strategy that helps you prepare for potential setbacks. Having a plan in place ensures that you can respond effectively if you begin to feel anxious or depressed again. 1. What is a relapse prevention plan? A relapse prevention plan is a personal guide that outlines the steps you'll take if you notice signs of a relapse. It includes identifying your triggers, coping strategies, and who you can turn to for support. 2. Key components of a relapse prevention plan. Identifying triggers. Reflect on past episodes of anxiety or depression and identify what may have triggered those feelings. Triggers can include stress at work, relationship issues, lack of sleep, or major life changes. Knowing your triggers helps you avoid or prepare for them. List of coping strategies. Create a list of the coping strategies you've learned in CBT that work best for you. This might include deep breathing exercises, reframing negative thoughts, mindfulness practices, or engaging in positive activities. Your plan should also include relaxation techniques like progressive muscle relaxation or visualization to help you calm down when you're feeling stressed. Who to contact for support. Write down a list of people you can reach out to if you need help, such as a close friend, family member, therapist, or mental health professional. Having a strong support system is crucial for staying on track. 3. Putting your plan into action. Once your relapse prevention plan is in place, review it regularly, even when you're feeling well. This keeps the plan fresh in your mind so you're ready to use it when necessary. Practical exercise. Take a few minutes to start creating your own relapse prevention plan. Write down your triggers, a few go-to CBT techniques, and the people you can contact for support. Keep this plan in a place where you can easily access it if you start noticing warning signs of relapse. Developing and using a support system. One of the most important factors in maintaining long-term mental health is having a strong support system. Surrounding yourself with people who understand your challenges and can offer encouragement and help is crucial for preventing relapse and staying motivated. 1. Why a support system matters. Emotional support. Having people in your life who provide emotional support can make a significant difference in how you handle stress and anxiety. These individuals can offer a listening ear, words of encouragement, and a sense of connection when you're feeling isolated or overwhelmed. Accountability. A support system can also help keep you accountable for maintaining your mental health. Whether it's checking in regularly, reminding you to use your CBT tools, or encouraging you to stick to your self-care routines, these people play a vital role in helping you stay on track. 2. How to build a support system. Friends and family. Start by reaching out to friends and family members who you trust and feel comfortable confiding in. Be open with them about what you need, whether it's just someone to talk to or someone to encourage you during difficult times. Therapists and support groups. In addition to friends and family, consider working with a therapist or joining a support group. Therapists provide professional guidance while support groups offer a sense of community with people who are facing similar challenges. Online resources and communities. If in-person support is challenging to find, there are many online communities and resources that can provide support and encouragement. Websites, forums, and social media groups focused on mental health can be a valuable part of your support network. 3. How to use your support system. Reach out regularly. Don't wait until you're in a crisis to reach out for support. Make an effort to check in with your support network regularly, even when things are going well. This helps keep your relationships strong and ensures that you have people to turn to when you need them most. Be clear about your needs. When you reach out to your support network, be clear about what you need. Whether it's advice, emotional support, or just someone to listen, communicating your needs helps others provide the best possible support. Fourth practical exercise. Make a list of at least 3 people you can rely on for support. Reach out to them this week to strengthen those connections and let them know how they can support you if needed. By recognizing the warning signs of relapse, creating a prevention plan, and building a strong support system, you can maintain the progress you've made in CBT and continue improving your mental health over time. These strategies ensure that you're prepared for any setbacks and give you the tools you need to stay on track. Conclusion. Final thoughts and encouragement. As we conclude the course, it's important to take a moment to reflect on the key techniques you've learned and to encourage you to continue applying them in your daily life. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is a powerful tool that can help you manage anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges. However, like any skill, the benefits of CBT come with continued practice and commitment. Wrap-up of key techniques. Throughout this course, we've covered a wide range of CBT techniques designed to help you challenge negative thinking patterns, reframe your thoughts, and improve your mental well-being. Let's review some of the most important concepts and tools that you can continue using on your mental health journey. 1. Identifying cognitive distortions. One of the first skills you learned was how to identify cognitive distortions, those automatic negative thought patterns like catastrophizing, all-or-nothing thinking, and overgeneralization. Recognizing these distortions is the first step toward changing them. Key takeaway. When you notice a negative thought, stop and ask yourself, is this thought realistic? What evidence do I have to support or challenge it? 2. Challenging. Negative thoughts. You've learned practical methods for challenging unhelpful thoughts, such as questioning the evidence behind them, exploring alternative explanations, and putting your thoughts on trial. These techniques help you break the cycle of negative thinking that fuels anxiety and depression. Key takeaway: regularly question and challenge the thoughts that cause you distress. Don't just accept them at face value. Take the time to evaluate whether they are helpful or realistic. 3. Reframing and replacing negative thoughts. Reframing negative thoughts into more balanced, realistic ones is a core CBT technique. This allows you to change how you perceive situations, which can improve your emotional response and reduce feelings of anxiety or hopelessness. Key takeaway: when faced with a negative thought, practice replacing it with a more constructive, balanced alternative. Over time, this will become a natural habit. 4. Behavioral activation for depression. Behavioral activation helps you counteract the inactivity and withdrawal that often accompany depression. By engaging in positive, rewarding activities, you can improve your mood and regain a sense of accomplishment. Key takeaway: even when you don't feel like doing something, push yourself to engage in small, enjoyable activities. These actions, no matter how small, can lift your mood over time. 5. Breathing and relaxation techniques for anxiety. You've learned deep breathing and progressive muscle relaxation to manage anxiety in real time. These techniques help calm your body's stress response and bring immediate relief when anxiety feels overwhelming. Key takeaway: use deep breathing or relaxation exercises whenever you feel anxious to quickly regain a sense of calm and control. 6. Mindfulness practices. Mindfulness encourages you to stay present in the moment and observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. This helps you avoid becoming overwhelmed by worries about the future or regrets about the past. Key takeaway: practice mindfulness daily by focusing on your breath, your senses, or the sensations in your body. This helps ground you and prevents anxious thoughts from taking over. 7. Setting small, achievable goals. Setting SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, helps you break down overwhelming tasks into manageable steps. This approach encourages progress and prevents feelings of helplessness. Key takeaway: when facing a challenging task, break it down into smaller, achievable steps. This helps you feel more in control and reduces feelings of anxiety or despair. Encouragement for continued practice. While completing this course is a great accomplishment, the real impact comes from continuing to apply the techniques you've learned in your everyday life. The more you practice these CBT strategies, the more natural they will become, and the more control you will have over your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. 1. CBT is a lifelong practice. Remember that CBT is not a one-time fix. It's a set of tools that you can use throughout your life. You may face new challenges, but by consistently applying the techniques you've learned, you'll be better equipped to handle them. 2. Be patient with yourself. Change takes time. Be patient with yourself as you continue to work on your mental health. It's normal to have setbacks, but what matters is that you continue to practice and use the strategies that help you feel better. 3. Make CBT a part of your routine. Try to incorporate CBT into your daily routine. Whether it's through journaling, mindfulness practice, or challenging negative thoughts, the more you use these techniques, the more effective they will be. 4. Celebrate your progress. Don't forget to celebrate your successes, no matter how small. Each time you catch a negative thought, reframe it, or engage in a positive activity, you are making progress. Acknowledge the work you're doing and how far you've come. Final encouragement. You've taken an important step toward improving your mental health by completing this course. The skills you've learned here will continue to benefit you for years to come as long as you keep practicing them. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight, but every small step you take brings you closer to a healthier, more balanced life. Keep moving forward, stay committed to your well-being, and don't hesitate to reach out for support when you need it. You have the tools. You can do this. I wish you all the best. Dr. Schifrin.